It is time to look at quarterbacks here on the Patreon for the Better Rivals podcast, and we're going to begin with Zach Wilson. He is an exciting prospect that is currently the favorite at number 2 to the Jets. But what if they draft someone else? What if they get fooled by the Mac Jones hype? What if they pick someone else altogether? Well, that would leave someone for the 49ers that has a live arm, who's creative, who may be one of the best deep throwers in this class. But what will happen if he actually has to face pressure in the pocket in the NFL? Let's take a look. We've got 9 plays for you that we think represent the type of prospect that Zach Wilson is. And we're going to start first with his accuracy on the move, because when it comes to throwing these balls, especially when he's in the intermediate and deep areas, it is incredibly accurate and just it's really, really beautiful to watch him play.
Yeah, I think this is kind of where you have to start. The type of throws that he can make on the move without his feet being set, I think are just incredibly impressive. It's the type of stuff that only really a few guys in the NFL can do. And so we can kind of see here, I mean, again, see this is kind of a little bit of a delayed design boot action here. He's going to kind of just check basically this receiver here on this quick hitch, and if he likes it, he'll throw that. If not, then they've got kind of a boot concept that they'll run out here for it. And so he's again just on the move, doesn't need to set his feet. I mean, and we're talking he lets this go right about his own 45-yard line, and the receiver's going to catch this at about the 10. So we're talking a good 45 yards in the air there on the move. Perfect strike. And we get to the end zone view here, I think you can really kind of get a little bit of a cleaner look here at the placement. If we get video to cooperate, there we go. And so yeah, you get a little bit of a cleaner look here from the end zone view of just like what a strike this is, and being able to put this back shoulder and deliver it accurately that far down the field, without being able to or without having to set your feet is just really impressive.
And you'll see this often, really, when you want to throw that back shoulder is when the defender has his back to the quarterback. And so he's able to, and you'll see this in some other plays as well, you'll see him read the leverage of the defender, see, okay, DB has his back to me, I'm going to go ahead and throw that back shoulder. But just the disassociation between his upper and lower body and the speed with which he whips that out, I mean, it's a live arm. It's a whip, and it's something that he uses really, really well. It's a tool in his tool belt, and he uses it often. And of course, boot action plays are something you're going to see in Shanahan's offense often. So it's good to see what he can do on the move. The next play, though, is going to be a pretty ridiculous play. You'll have to forgive the field here. This is Boise State. It's a travesty. It's an ocular assault. But here we are nonetheless. And so in this play, it's another play where he throws a beautiful deep ball. But in this play, he actually points his wide receiver to an open space and throws just a complete bomb.
Yeah, so there you get to see the point. Yeah, well, I mean, like you see the fact that the camera has to zoom out to this level just to be able to fit everything in frame here is just absurd. So yeah, this is, I think you get an idea of just again the arm strength is there, and just his ability to still find something and create out of structure, right? This isn't designed to go to this receiver kind of to the corner here, but once the safety, you get the safety in the middle of the field here, that it's taken away the post route that they want to throw, and he's just like, hey, you know what? Run to this open space over here because I can make this absurd 50 plus yard in the air throw that only my guy can get. And I mean, again, we'll kind of go to the end zone view. Being able to just throw it this far on its own, on its face, is just impressive there. But being able to do it, this guy, he's not wide open necessarily, right? There's a defender that's in close proximity. A lot of times you're going to see this type of ball just hang in the air, and the defender is going to have a chance to get to it. I mean, you can see there's basically about an arm's length of separation there, and he gets enough velocity on it to where that defender can't close and make a play on this ball. And so only his guy can get it. And so you see, just kind of the absurd arm talent that this guy's working with.
This is a play action off of a wide zone. So it's something that you can already see some of the same skills that he would have to do in Shanahan's offense here already. You also see his creativity at work. He sees that he's got his player covered up. I mean, this is a concept where you've got that post like a lot of Shanahan plays, it's really designed to go to a specific spot. He doesn't like his first read. He comes off of it, moves back to that deep shot. He's bracketed, right? He's got two guys right here. The safety's doing his job. He's able to have the creativity to say, no, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and point you into open space. In the NFL, oftentimes quarterbacks just don't have to make this point. They just throw to the open space and the receiver will adjust. It's stuff that you see happen on Sundays, and he's able to orchestrate it. But the other thing which you'll see often is just the time he has to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know that in the NFL he's going to have the time to sit back here and have a perfectly clean pocket and be able to 50 yards down the field spot what the safety is doing, point, and then make the decision. Like it's a great play, yes, but okay, now let's see if you can do it when you've got a really, really big guy chasing you off your spot.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things, that we mentioned, I think is one of the few, I think, downsides to his game that we saw in 2020, which is just, a bit untested under pressure. So it's not something that we are going to have, I think just specific plays to call us out, because it just happens naturally a lot. So it's something we'll kind of call out, as we go through some of these other plays. But yeah, you see just the absurd time in the pocket that he has to, again, check the post. I'm going to check, okay, I'm going to go back over here. Everybody's covered. Okay, let me kind of keep moving around and improvise a little bit and get this out. You're talking a solid probably 7-8 seconds here before he lets this go. You just don't get that kind of time very frequently in the NFL.
Yeah, and so on the next play, you're going to see another ridiculous deep dart, but this time with him on the move. And this shows his ability to create out of structure, because he's got to move around in the pocket, and he's still able to throw a really accurate ball to his receiver.
Yeah, so a similar concept to what we've been, seeing on these first couple plays here, where we're going to get the play action off the wide zone action, and we're going to look really for this deep post. And I mean, as we know from, the Super Bowl miss there and several other ones, like, this is definitely the type of concept that you're going to see a lot, where you're going to get one guy on a deep post here, and either another one kind of crossing underneath, or in this case, this receiver is going to kind of go back out like that. You see all of this type of stuff within Shanahan's offense frequently, and so we're definitely kind of focusing in on some of those plays. But here, yeah, you do see him get pressured here pretty early on in the drop, and so he's going to have to move up. And again, doesn't have to. He probably has the opportunity here to set his feet if he wants to. Like, he can probably set up here, but again, he's moving up. He doesn't know, his eyes are downfield. He doesn't know that this D tackle slips and falls and that he's got a little bit extra time. So you do always worry about this guy kind of wrapping behind you and getting that ball out. So he stays on the move here, and just, again, tight coverage, only one place to put this ball, and we'll go to the end zone view again here for a better look at the ball location, but just an absolutely absurd throw on the move. Again, well distanced down the field, and just tight coverage, only one spot to put it, and he puts it right in that place.
Oh, it's perfect. It's just an effortless throw, a completely effortless throw right in the bucket. That should be a completion.
Yeah. I mean, this might have been, it sucks because, yeah, again, he doesn't, the receiver's not able to quite pull it in, and, he's getting this as an incompletion on the stat sheet, but man, this might be my favorite throw, that we saw from him. It's just insane.
And the thing that often separates really, really good deep throwers from not good deep throwers is the fact that the throw beat the coverage. Because that's not terrible coverage from that corner. That corner's in phase. He's able to swat that shoulder. I mean, that's really what you want, what you ask that guy to do. And the throw, 40, 50 yards downfield or whatever the hell it is, beats the coverage. There is no defense for a perfect throw. And that's exactly what this is.
Yeah. And again, you get the safety. I mean, the safety is not great here and a little out of position, but he's still in a spot where you can't leave this short, right? A lot of times what's going to happen for, I think, most guys on these kind of deep post shots is either they kind of tend to throw it too early because they want to make sure not to underthrow it and ends up being overthrown, or they don't have the arm, right, to get it out there. And so if this was a more typically thrown ball from a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, the safety's probably not making a play on it, but it might hit him right in the back, and he's at least in a spot where this has to be over the top, to basically this hash in order to have a chance at being completed. And that's right where he puts it.
Now, Wilson's not just a deep thrower, though. He is also able to do things in rhythm, and he's also able to do things in the intermediate parts of the field. So in this case, he's going to get another deep shot, but this one's going to be in rhythm and not necessarily on the move. Just kind of show him go to the right receiver at the right time and make another deep play down the middle of the field. You're noticing that all these plays are near the middle of the field because that's where Shanahan does indeed like to attack. We're going to see about some of his sideline shots in a little bit, but it's another just really beautiful throw.
Yeah, and we don't, we won't spend a lot of time on this one. I think we kind of get the picture right now. We just wanted to make sure to give you guys, a good number of examples. Like this vertical element is a big part of what the 49ers are lacking and that he really brings to the table. And it's, again, we're not talking wide open throws with a lot of these, to where he just has, you can kind of put it anywhere. There's a lot of room for error. I mean, this is, again, very similar to the last one, where it's just like he's putting this in a spot where only his guy can get it, and there's just not a lot of room for an error, where if he leaves it short, again, he's got the safety that's in play there. He's also, you're probably talking about this cornerback able to catch up and get a hand on it, but he's putting it up away from the defense and just in kind of that perfect location on the stuff down the field.
Now we get to some of the ball location and accuracy stuff that we were talking about, and this throw was one of the first ones that we saw when we were watching his film, and you'll see that he throws it from hash to the sideline. I mean, that is beautiful, just opening up, taking that shot, gets it over the underneath defender in front of that corner, who doesn't do a good job either way, and gets it out to the sideline in great location. I mean, that is arm strength. It's arm strength, it's rhythm, it's timing. It's everything that you want out of a corner or out of a quarterback that really opens up all areas of the field and doesn't just condense things in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a difficult throw. I mean, we talk about with a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, in a lot of colleges, they're not even really defending this type of throw because there are so few quarterbacks that can make it. Like, they're going to let guys attempt to make this all day because they know the completion percentage isn't going to be very high. But this was, a big part of their offense, making this throw. And I mean, and this backer, right, is the guy that he needs to beat, that has, unfortunately for him, a lot of ground to cover, right? Because you are throwing from the far hash here. So as they're kind of getting to cover three, he is that curl flat defender that's trying to get out and underneath this stuff. And he does, I mean, not a terrible job necessarily. He's opening up, he's running out there, he's getting a decent amount of depth. And you see, like here, I mean, I know it's kind of zoomed out, it might be hard, but here's the ball right there. I mean, this is away, even if this was tighter coverage, right? Say maybe the corner was squeezing this a little bit more. Maybe this underneath defender gets an even better drop and is able to challenge this a little bit more. Like, again, in the only spot that it can be, right, to be completely safe and away from the defense. If he misses here, it's not being left behind and inside, so a defender has a chance to pick it off. It's a my guy or nothing type of ball location, which is exactly what you need when you're going to make these type of throws. Because in the NFL, yeah, you're going to have guys that are tighter to this, right? This window is going to be even smaller than it is here, and so making sure that these outbreaking routes are put up and away is really important.
And from a concept perspective, this is mesh. I mean, Shanahan runs mesh. You see mesh on Sundays. Mesh is a very, very common play in the NFL. But you're running mesh, which is a man beater. You'll see them slap hands, which is great. But this is a man beater. Well, they're in zone. So when they're in zone, you can see Wilson just kind of check the middle of the field, post-snap confirmation. Yep. Okay, cool. This is zone. I'm not going to get my crossing routes free. So I throw it to the guy that is the route that's going to beat this zone coverage. And it's a far throw, but he steps into it in rhythm, opens his hips. It's on the money.
Yeah, and we'll get a little look here. I don't remember if the end zone camera guy cooperates for us. No, he's a little bit late. Yeah, so don't see much college film, man.
The throw beats the coverage, and the throw beats the cameraman. So now we're going to get to some of the leverage throws that he has, where he is really reading where that defender is, and he chooses whether or not to throw it kind of over the top of that defender or to the back shoulder.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that he just has a really good feel for is, like we've called out, where to put the ball to keep it away from the defense, right? And so on these vertical routes, a lot of times, it's not a predetermined thing to throw it back shoulder. What he needs to be able to do, and so he's going to throw this, up the sideline here to this outside most receiver, and so he needs to be able to read the leverage of this cornerback here, right, and see where is he in relation to my receiver. And so here, as he gets kind of to the top of his drop, right, and he's ready to kind of start letting this go, he can see that his receiver's already even, right? My guys, and this is, again, line of scrimmage is here, so he's not even 5 yards off the ball, and you can see that my guy's already even with the defender. So I know that there's a good chance he's going to beat him over the top. So that's where I need to put this ball, right? So he drops it in over the top, away from the defender, and you get the touchdown here. And so, and we'll look at kind of with the next play, how that defender's leverage changes and kind of lets him know that he needs to move the ball location.
Yeah, Wilson's really good at throwing balls along the sideline in that red area. So there's a red line that's out there that basically is an area where that wide receiver is trying to run to give some space for the quarterback to drop things over to the sideline. If the wide receiver gets pushed too far to the sideline, he basically makes the throw harder for his quarterback. So this is actually a pretty good route from the receiver. He stays on the red line. He doesn't drift to the sideline too much and gives Wilson a place to throw it. But Wilson's also very, very good at getting throws down that sideline. But he switches his technique on this next play. And he doesn't, similar kind of idea, similar concept. It's a deep shot. But this time he throws it back shoulder, and you'll see why.
Yeah, so he's going to the left this time, and again, you see the defender up in press coverage, and so here gets to the last step of his drop. I need to see the leverage of this defender, right? And so here you can see this defender's doing a better job of staying on top, right? And so even as we go, as he starts to kind of let this go, the defender is still in a position where he's on top of the receiver. And so that's when this outside space here for the back shoulder is opened up. And so he leaves it back. And again, that defender has no chance to be able to recover and get back to this ball. And so he just has, this was something, these type of throws, we could have put up probably a half an hour worth of clips just of these types of balls, right, in the back shoulder or throwing it over the top on these vertical routes up the sideline. He just has a really great feel for where to put these throws so that only his guy can get to it.
So now we get to some of the concerns you might have with Wilson because, there's no prospect that's perfect, and Zach Wilson is not perfect either. And one of the things you worry about with him is how he manages pressure in the pocket. And one of the things that you'll see here that he does often is he drifts into a spot in the pocket that isn't super great, and in the NFL is likely going to get him sacked.
Yeah, so one of the things that is really, I think, difficult for college quarterbacks in his situation, which is, coming from a place where he's got a good offensive line and really wasn't under pressure very much. I mentioned on the pod that Oklahoma's quarterbacks recently under Lincoln Riley have kind of dealt with this because they see a lot of 3-man pass rush. And so they just don't, their quarterbacks don't spend a lot of time under pressure. And so what happens is these guys get a tendency to kind of drift backwards. So you can see Wilson here kind of just moving slightly back, and really where he needs to be, right? So again, line of scrimmage is here at the 33-yard line. So we're expecting him to kind of set up right here around the 40. And so you can get, he's drop is really complete here at the 41, and then you expect kind of a slide up, right? And to settle kind of more in this area. And so instead what he does is keeps drifting back, and suddenly now we're at the 42, almost the 43. And that's why this edge rusher here is able to affect him, right? And so, and it's not, I think both the plays that we're going to show here, he ends up evading it and actually turns it into a positive play for the offense and gets a completion. But this is the type of thing that you see on his college tape that makes you a little concerned about how that's going to work out for him at the NFL level, right? Because again, this tackle is expecting him to be here. And if he's here, then he's pushed this defender right on by and he's never a threat, right? And he can step up easily in the pocket and still make this throw. And so he kind of makes this play more difficult than it needs to be on himself by kind of drifting backwards in the pocket like that.
Now, this is the third time we've seen the mesh concept in this video because it's something BYU ran often, but we've seen him go to a different spot each time. He is reading what is happening with this play and not just going to a predetermined spot each time. The other thing is that, I mean, you look at that pocket mobility, that's actually pretty good. Like he's got two hands on the ball.
Yeah.
Right. He uses his shoulder to shield the ball, right? He moves, he shifts. And while he's moving, he's able to make a throw on the run. Pressure is not something he dealt with often, but he's got enough wiggle in the pocket and enough stuff in the pocket to really navigate it really, really well. So yeah, he hasn't had to deal with pressure often, and he does some things that hurt him really, and we'll see it again here. He drifts in the pocket again, but it's something that I think if he's coached correctly, it's something he can overcome because he's got the skills to do it.
Yeah, it definitely. I think when you see him have to move, it's not. He's got the mobility and he's got the footwork and everything like that you want to be able to avoid this stuff. You want him just to be, I think, right, a little bit more disciplined. So here again, line of scrimmage at the 30-yard line there. So we would be expecting him to kind of settle right in this range around the 37. And he gets a nice deep drop here all the way to the 39, and then just keeps going back, right, back, and that's kind of his default. When I've got time and my first look, isn't really open here, I'm going to kind of drift backwards. And he ends up, I mean, by the time that he moves forward, I mean, he's 13 yards deep in the pocket, which is just, it's a lot. Like that's bad news in the NFL because, again, these tackles aren't expecting you to be here. They're expecting you to be here. Or even further up. And so that's what they're blocking. They don't know where you're at. And so that's the only reason these edge defenders kind of get involved in the play for a minute. But again, we see then what we've been talking about afterwards, the mobility to avoid all of this, to get out of the trouble, find space, and eventually find a completion down the field.
And this is an interesting concept. I mean, it's a high-low concept in the middle of the field, and you've got someone coming kind of on the backside across the formation. And so those high-low reads are things you're going to see fairly regularly in the NFL. So he's having to read defenses and he's having to make decisions here that he would have to make on Sunday. So it's something where, you see that high-low right in the middle, right? You've got one, you've got two, you've got this guy coming across formation the other way. And then eventually you've got that dump off. But, he's able to make something happen here. But in the NFL, maybe he doesn't have the opportunity to make this happen because there's an edge defender that's already sacked him. It's this really weird balance with him between that kind of creativity and wanting to push the ball down the field, but also like, is that going to work in the NFL? I think that he, if he's coached well, I think he's got the skills to overcome it, but I could see how an evaluator just may not want to deal with that. They think it's too reckless or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So I think overall that is likely a concern. He can navigate the pocket, but he may make things more difficult for himself in the process.
Right. Yeah. And so, and I don't think that it's, again, it's not something that is a huge concern in a sense of like you're downgrading him significantly as a prospect, right? Or you think it's going to have some cap on his ability. Like, I think he can work on this, right? Like, I think we've seen guys go to the NFL and improve at this a little bit. And I think he's not one. I think sometimes you see like really tall quarterbacks struggle with this, right? Because their strides are just a bit longer, and so they just kind of naturally get deeper in the pocket, and it becomes a consistent problem with them. He's not, some 6'7" dude that's gonna have that kind of trouble. So I think it's more of just this was the environment that he was in. It kind of lended itself to like giving him that opportunity to be able to get deep in there because he just kind of had all day a lot of the times, and there wasn't a lot of downside to doing this. And so it's just something that he's going to have to kind of work out of his system and get used to being a little bit firmer in the pocket there, not moving around quite so much, and then moving up in the pocket is kind of that first natural instinct.
Overall, Zach Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in this class. I think if the Jets don't take him at 2, Shanahan should draft him at 3. Because he is, I think, going to be an electric player in the NFL, and he's got some things to clean up. There's no perfect prospects, but man, his ability is tantalizing with what he can do out of structure, on the move, and what he can do with his arm. That does it for a scattering report of Zach Wilson. Thanks again for tuning in. And as always, go Niners.